Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
It's alive!
Welcome to Where the Weird Ones Are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? This is Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that. And if you didn't, now you do. So today on the podcast, we have Phil. He is a paranormal investigator, explorer. He has some interesting stories to tell us. He knows quite a bit about some Massachusetts Native American lore. He does a lot going out in the woods and stuff where there's well-known hauntings. So he just put out a video on YouTube the other day that I haven't looked into yet. But I'm going to it'll probably be tonight. Anyways, he was extremely friendly. I really enjoyed talking to him. Hands down, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Yeah, so check him out. He's exploring with Phil on Instagram, and he goes by Canadian Dutch Boys Studios, I believe, on YouTube. If you just type in exploring with Phil, I'm sure you can find his shit. I've watched pretty much almost all of it by now. Anywho, if you guys can do me a favor, go over to 16%.com. They have a bunch of cryptid merchandise and whatnot, some plushies. I think you'll probably like them. You don't have to buy anything, but if you do decide to purchase something, please enter my code STAYWEIRD at checkout. That is with a capital S and a capital W. That's a good way to support the show. And if you are interested in being featured on this podcast, tell your stories and all that jazz, please hit me up at wheretheweirdonесare@gmail.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram, where_theweirdonesare. I'd love to hear from you. And if you don't mind, another good way to support the show, like, subscribe, and share the shit out of it. Phil has some interesting stories. He hears some disembodied voices, or EVPs. What are EVPs? They are voices that your audio equipment pick up that you did not hear in real time. So he catches a lot of that, so that's why I named the episode Disembodied Voices. Also, I will be in Hamlet, North Carolina, April 1st for the first annual EncounterQuest. So if you guys are in the area, I implore you to check that shit out. Maybe we'll run into each other. Who the fuck knows? I'll most likely be wearing this. Also, speaking of wearing this, I am looking into setting up a merch store. So if anybody knows anything, wants to help me out, is willing to help me out with that, that'd be great. I haven't really found a platform that I like yet. So things to come. Anyways, I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. I enjoyed talking to him. Hopefully, him and I can get together and do a real life investigation. I've never done an actual investigation, so it'll be pretty interesting. All right. With that, stay weird.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
Sounds good.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. Today on the podcast, we have Phil. He goes by Canadian Dutch Boys on YouTube. I've been watching, I've kind of guilty pleasure binge watching his videos, and they're very interesting. I actually really enjoy him. He's very well spoken and very clear when he talks. So it's nice when all that combination comes together. So how you doing, Phil?
Great, Kevin. Great. First of all, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to talk about paranormal and of course, like, some of my experiences and stuff like that. But yeah, just first of all, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure, and I can't wait to get into it.
Right. Cool. I do believe I forgot to mention that he's a paranormal investigator. I just went, oh, he has a YouTube.
Yeah. That's okay. You know what it is? Because we were like, behind the curtain, we were already like talking for like 5 minutes, and if we didn't stop, we would have just like kept on going and not even recorded the podcast.
True.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's been really fun doing this since I started, because just like meeting you and a whole bunch of people, like it's really fun. Everybody's so friendly, and
yeah.
They've made it, because at first, when I first started this, I was really nervous, and everybody has made it so easy, and I'm so grateful for everyone who has come on. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to talk to me about your experiences and all the stuff that you do. So
yeah, absolutely, man.
so I started listening. I haven't finished the episode, but I started listening to you on Tommy Cullum's Let's Get Freaky. Love that guy. He's awesome. My sister and I were on that show. I don't know if you knew that.
Yep.
So with that being said, I'm probably going to put this in the intro, but I'm just going to say it right now. My sister has been having a really rough pregnancy, so she hasn't been able to be on any of the recent shows, any of the recent episodes. So I hope she gets better. So I just wanted to let everybody know.
Absolutely. I'll keep her in my prayers for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, so what got you started on this path? What got you interested in investigating the paranormal?
There's like, as far as like doing the YouTube channel and stuff. It's really interesting. So I would say, I mean, I've always been interested in like the ghosts and paranormal stuff, even from a young age. I think it was probably one of my first experiences. I've told this in other podcasts. It's just a quick story, but like basically my first paranormal experiences, I was about 4 years old, and we lived in a apartment, first floor, second floor. My bedroom was on the first floor. parents' bedrooms on the second floor. So I had went up. My mom's downstairs in the kitchen or living room. I'm not really sure. Maybe she's. What, it doesn't really matter. She's downstairs. Is the point. And so, I go upstairs to go grab something, or I don't know, whatever. Who knows? And so I'm up there, and I hear this like people talking, and I can't see anybody. There's no one there, and I know it's just me and my mom. So I'm like, I know there's no one else there. So I'm already kind of freaked out from that. And then I hear like a glass break. And so I run downstairs. I'm, petrified. I'm only 4 years old. So I go down, tell my mom, we go back upstairs. There's no one up there, of course. There's no glass broken. It's just a weird experience. And so much so, it kind of stuck with me a little bit because at my 5th birthday party, which is a few months after this experience, um, I was telling all my cousins about the experience, and they were like picking on me or making jokes and be like, oh, they were whistling and be like, oh, that's the ghost, that's the ghost. So like, it goes to show it definitely was something that like I thought even at the time I thought was like a ghost experience and stuff. And so, as a kid I did like Ghostbusters and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it was already in my mind that like, oh, ghosts could be a thing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Especially when you're young like that. So fast forward to like as an adult, like maybe over a year ago when I started the YouTube channel, I think my main priority or my main thing with really starting it was Randonautica. Because I'd seen all those videos about Randonautica, and I was like, well, what's really going on? It seems really sensationalized. It seems like people are making stuff up. So I was like, I want to see for myself what's going on with this app. Let me go out into some paranormal areas and use the app and see, if anything weird happens, basically. And that's how I kind of got started. And that sort of morphed into starting to do EVP sessions while I was out there. And then basically that turned into me being like a paranormal investigator, essentially, over like the last year or so.
Nice.
So that's basically how I like got started. It was just kind of strange because it's like I started as like the Randonautica angle of it, not necessarily trying to go out there and doing like ghost hunts and stuff like that.
Okay.
But now it's like more so like paranormal investigations. I would classify it as.
All right.
What
So
I
I'm not familiar with that app.
Oh, okay. So for you and for anyone not familiar with the app, Randonautica came out in 2020. It was kind of one of those apps where I think they did it on purpose. They don't really give you a lot of information about the app. So the app drops. This is a true story. A couple kids in Seattle play the app. They use the intention of death. And so I'll explain what the app is. But basically, the app is a random number generator, which uses a quantum computer in Australia, which uses quantum physics and all that kind of stuff. So it takes basically what you do is you set forth an intention. So, for example, these kids' intention was death. So you open up the app, you're like, my intention is death. You click one of many, couple different options. You click it, and it'll be like, okay, focus in on your attention, and it'll take your attention theoretically and give it to the supercomputer in Australia. It brings it back with the coordinates within the radius that you set. So these kids did that with the intention of death, and it took them to a shoreline near where they lived within the radius of that whatever they picked, and they found 2 suitcases that smelled. Long story short, there was 2 bodies inside there cut up from
What?
from a serial killer that had like killed these people or whatever. And this is a true story. You can look this up. It's like it's Seattle, I believe. So that's how the app kind of got like the negative or the kind of like crazy paranormal things, because here's these kids, they do the intention of death and it sends them to death. So that's kind of like how I got familiar with that. And then so after that, you have a lot of different, I think what now you can see now is just people kind of taking advantage of this and sort of labeling their videos as Randonautica videos and pretending to have these like crazy experiences. So like
Yeah.
which can happen, you know what I mean? So I've used the app many times. I've used it to like help me paranormal investigate and stuff like that. I will say the app creator, because I listened to an interview with him, because I was like, all right, well, like what's going on with the app? The creator's basically like, look, there's nothing evil with the app whatsoever. Basically, all it does is give you a 10% better chance than random at finding whatever your intention is. So
That's exactly what a Satanist would say.
Exactly. So like, so take that with a grain of salt. That's what he says. It's so like the supercomputer could basically find it a little bit better than, whatever your intention is. So I guess it depends on your intention. If you're searching for negative things, you're probably going to find something negative eventually.
Yeah.
So like it's very interesting. He also said if you don't find something the first time you do it, try it up to 3 times, and by the 3rd time you should find something that represents what you're looking for, or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow,
interesting.
that is interesting. I'm gonna
It's
have to
definitely,
check that out too.
yeah, and it's a free app. You can download it, Randonautica. Like I said, it was probably most popular in 2020, 2021.
Okay.
But like I said, there's real people that do real Randonautica videos out there. But if you want to see the other ones, you can see them too. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
People get so like gung ho about some of these things, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just like they make it. You can, well, obviously, like you're basically saying you can tell that it's fake, but like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they try to jump on that wave
Yes.
and
Yep.
get followers
Yep.
and all
Absolutely.
that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's fine if you want to make entertainment like that, but you can't pull the wool over people's eyes and pretend like, oh, this is real. You know what I'm saying? That's where I
yeah,
have a
yeah.
problem with it. It's like, it's one thing if you're putting out there like, oh, this is just like, for fun or whatever. This is like a fake horror type thing or something.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, that's not what these people are doing.
So
I'm not going to name names. I'm just saying.
it's funny too that you your first experience there back when you were 4 and your cousins were kind of razzing you. I used to razz my little brother after we had watched the Leprechaun movie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we'd be like, we'd get out of the car at night and we'd be walking inside. Well, my mom would make us get the groceries or something like that, and I'd be behind him and I'd be like, I am the leprechaun, and he's like, oh my god, oh my god. Or I'd be like, the leper, I think I just saw a leprechaun out there in those woods, and he's like, oh my god.
That's funny. That's funny.
So do you mind talking about that app again? That's that the word bank app that we were talking about.
Yeah. So one of the apps I use when I do paranormal investigations is, it was basically, so what I did when I first like started, I didn't have a lot of money, so I was like, let me see what apps are out there. Because I've seen people use a couple different apps in different videos on YouTube. So some people use like the Necrophonic or whatever. I've seen people use that, which is basically like a spirit box type thing.
Yeah.
I've seen various other ones. So I found this one. It's called, I believe it's called M3 Science Toolkit, Ghost Science Toolkit, or Paranormal Science Toolkit, something like that. It has a bunch of different features. It records audio, it does video, it has night vision, has thermal on it. It has we couldn't remember what the name of it is, but basically the video where it can trace stick figures and stuff. So it has that feature on there. It has the word bank, and the word bank's one of the things I use basically for every video, for any paranormal video or anywhere I go. I'll just turn it on and kind of have it running in the background. So at first, I was very skeptical of the word bank feature, because it's like, all right, it's an app. How, could the ghost really manipulate this app into like,
Right.
So I was like, all right. So I don't think it was until, I think, Penhurst maybe, where I had like my first correlating. So I think it was like basically what I mean by correlating. So for example, in a recent video I've done in the Huckamuck Swamp, I was asking about puckwudgies, and puckwudgies are like a little troll-like creature, also known as little people or whatever.
Yeah.
And so on the spirit box, I was asking about puckwudgies, and it said little, and I was like, oh, it said little. And then on the word bank, maybe a few minutes after that, or not even like within a minute of that, it gets little. It says little on it, and so it's the same word, same thing. So that's what I mean by correlating. When you have like two separate things, like a spirit box and this word bank thing, saying the same thing, I think it's, it kind of lends credibility to the app. And so I was like, okay, well, and so it's just random, because then at other points you get like toothbrush, and you're like, well, I don't know what that's about, is the ghost just like just saying random things, or like are they? But then again, the app's done some weird things. I was in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is where the Pilgrims landed, all that stuff. And I was walking down the street and I got like Joker and Laugh or something like that. And then I looked back through in the word bank and it never registered. And I'm like, I heard it. And in the recording, you can hear it. But when I look back at the list, it's not in there. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. And then I've had other instances where I'll hear the app say a different word, and then the word that pops up is like not the word that it says.
Hmm.
So like I don't know if the ghost or spirit or whatever's trying to use the app is like trying to say something and it's not quite coming out exactly the way it wants to. So like there could be that kind of stuff going on as well. But I think for a $9.99 app, I think it's very useful. And for anyone that's like doing paranormal investigations just for fun, or when you're first starting out, I think it's a great app to use. I use it like every single time I go out. So
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I personally have never been on a investigation at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even like just like, local like, ghost hunt or something that you saw. Really?
No.
Are
No.
you not willing to do it, or you just haven't had the opportunity?
I just haven't had the opportunity, I guess you could say. But when I was, I don't know, 15, 16, me and my high school girlfriend and one of my buddies, there's a well-known cemetery here in town, and there's like this whole like there's like I want to say like a lore or urban legend that there's like a cult that hangs out in the woods behind the cemetery, and every once in a while you can see like a flashing blue light
Hmm.
or whatever. So we decided to go out there, and this was back in the flip phone days, and we were using the flip phones for light, so we'd flip it open and it would
Yeah.
shine.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't shine forever, but you close it and you open it back up. But
Yeah.
we're walking through there in the middle of the dark. In the middle of the dark, it was dark, and there's like this hill, and it has tombstones, and we're walking, and all of a sudden you just hear like really fast, and I was like, what? And we shine the light really quick, and there's nothing there. It's just tombstones.
Weird. So you talk about like someone running towards you kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it almost sounded like a bear just coming down the hill, or a rock kind
Right.
of like
Oh, like
tumbling.
rolling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
you know what I mean?
Weird.
And so she started getting scared, and then my buddy went behind, started going like flashing his light behind the bigger tombstones to see if like somebody was there, and there wasn't anybody there. And then
Hmm.
there's like a little like creek that runs through it, and there's two bridges, and then there's like a little waterfall and stuff. It's a really pretty cemetery,
Yeah.
all in all. And then we're coming up onto the bridge, and then we see like this figure out over to our left near a couple tombstones, and we're trying to shine our light, and it's with the phones, it's not that bright, and it's this girl, and then she's pale, black hair, and she's just staring at us. We're like, what the hell is that?
Jeez.
And then over a little bit further to the left, there was another person standing
No
there,
way.
and then all of a sudden there was another person in front of us on the other side of this bridge. And
Jeepers.
then somebody jumps up from like underneath the bridge onto this. It's like a brick and cement like little
Yeah.
top, and he's
Mhm.
crawling, and he's like, "What are you doing here? This is my cemetery." It's like, okay, these are
What?
people. These are
Yeah.
fucking people, obviously, and they're
Yeah.
fucking with us right now.
Yeah. Right.
Is this so
Jeepers.
we were just like, and they're like, get out of here or something like that, and then all of a
Mm.
sudden all the people that we were seeing were starting to walk towards us, and I was like, well, I don't feel like possibly getting stabbed, so let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. No doubt. That's
So
weird. That's really, really weird.
it was super weird, and like it was almost like they were putting on a play kind of thing, the way
Mm.
they were acting.
Yeah.
Just it was so weird. So I was like, maybe that was the cult.
Right. Yeah. Very
you know
strange.
It was wicked weird, and the guy, he looked like um for lack of a better term, he looked like one of those like ICP people.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like he had like a definitely a tattoo of like a hatchet guy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't see it, but I could. He
Yeah.
looked like somebody that would have that. You
Well,
know what I mean?
I 100% know. Yes. Yep.
So
That's
That was
wild. How
yeah,
long ago was that? This is like early 2000s, mid 2000s.
yeah. It was like 2005, 2006.
Gotcha. And then
So
this was like a rumor that was going on at that time too.
it's been, I guess it's been
Forever.
forever, or
Interesting.
for a while anyway.
Yeah.
There used to be cult. There used to be a satanic cult
Mm,
in this town in the 80s.
gotcha. Gotcha. Kind of like down this way in Freetown State Forest with like that whole stuff.
Yeah,
Very, it's the same thing, the satanic stuff, which is, no joke, and
yeah. So
crazy stuff.
yeah, there's a guy currently serving a life sentence that's from Sanford, Maine. That he was quote unquote a Satanist. He had like the Book of the Dead or something. He owned it or something like that, and this was like 1984.
Yeah.
And he did like he wanted to kill his girlfriend for some reason. He was 18. He wanted to kill his girlfriend, but for some reason he didn't, and he ended up killing a 12-year-old girl in like
Oof.
a satanic ritual.
God. Ay.
And yeah,
Wild.
it was it. I just learned about it. My sister does a lot of like this like true
Research. Yeah.
crime
Yeah.
research and stuff,
Mhm.
and she found that, and then um yeah, I was like, what? That's
Dude, that's
crazy.
wild. And that kind of stuff can definitely leave imprints on wherever that took place too, wherever that ritual was or whatever.
Mm,
Because same thing happened in Freetown State Forest. It's almost exact kind of a scenario. Satanist type guy, him and his girlfriend, they convince this other girl to go out there because they're like, oh, we'll go smoke weed out in the forest. It'll be fun. They go out, they lead her out there and they like murder her and stuff.
oh,
Like ritually and all that kind of stuff. And then people found like cattle mutilations and
ugh,
animals, like all that kind of like just not good stuff. And
yeah.
like, and ever since that happened, like this, we're talking 70s that happened.
Hmm.
It's been like a reoccurring thing where like either copycats or people that are like into that stuff are
Mm,
drawn to those areas almost because they know the legends or so, you know what I mean? I don't know. And I'd be interested to see if that's what's happening where you live. You know what I mean?
right.
If that's somehow connected, because I mean, not saying that those cult people, whatever that you saw, are, but I mean, it's not a wrong possibility that there's
Mm,
still people like that trying to like go to these type of places where these things happened and try to get power or whatever they do. I don't know.
yeah.
You know?
My buddy's wife said that when she was younger that she was like a practicing witch, and they used to go to the cemetery to do like these vigils or seances or something like that, and she didn't want to tell me about things that they did, so it made me like curious. I was like, what did you
Yeah,
do that you
you
don't
like,
want to talk about?
yeah, that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's never not good.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's she also said that she's like, when you fuck around with shit like with dark spirits and shit, then
yeah.
it's not good for anybody.
Yeah, no, hell no. It's just like there's just some things you just shouldn't do.
Mm, mm,
Like I mean, I run into like enough paranormal stuff as it is. I don't need like anything like that. No
yeah.
thanks. You know what I
Me
mean? Like
neither.
no one's
Me
got
neither.
time for that.
Yeah.
You have a podcast, I have videos to do. Like we don't have time for that.
I will tell you though that I do want to investigate the Salem Inn in Massachusetts. My ex-wife used to work there, and
Oh, interesting.
her brother used to be the night caretaker there, and
Salem in. What town is that in? Is that in Salem?
it's in Salem. Yeah,
Okay. Hmm. Okay.
I was kind of
Interesting.
considering. So there's one room that's supposedly the most haunted, and that's room 17.
Hmm.
And I kind of want to do a podcast on Halloween in that room, like
In-
just to talk
Interesting.
and
Yeah,
maybe
and
even
then
do a little investigation too.
yeah, and who knows what you might catch while you're just doing the show too.
Right,
Because I'll be
exactly.
honest with you, I've caught just as many EVPs just walking around doing
Yeah,
my videos as an EVP sessions. Like I don't even think it matters.
right.
Um, so it's weird how that works, but it's just I mean that's what I found in my like year. I mean very limited, but 1 year doing it.
Yeah,
I feel like I catch just as many just walking around.
yeah, and
So
it's funny that because a lot of people think that you have to be in a building to catch like a lot of these things, but obviously from your videos you walking in the Huckamuck Swamp right down the trail and you're catching EVPs, you're getting these like little voices and stuff like that. It's when I was growing up anyway, that my understanding of the paranormal was you didn't like experience a like actual like haunting or voices unless you were in a house. But
Right.
I did have some weird fucking experiences growing up too. So I don't know. Like there was times where I thought that I was crazy. You know what I mean?
Right, right, because well, especially like when you're a kid like that, you know what I mean? You're just like, well, who do you go to in that kind of situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You're almost like afraid to tell people because you're like, well, like the adult's just gonna not believe me, or you know what I mean? That's what you're
Yeah,
afraid of anyway.
right.
You know, especially back in those days. Like nowadays, I think people would be more apt to believe their kids if they had said something like that to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because of where we are, like even like in the last 20 years, a
Yeah.
lot of people have become more accepting of like ghosts and even like
Mhm.
Bigfoot and stuff like that. You know, a lot of people are like into that kind of stuff nowadays. So
Yeah, I am interested in Bigfoot and cryptids and stuff like that. I think that I seen a skinwalker maybe
interesting.
possibly at one
Yep.
point, and maybe another incident where I saw red eyes, and it was with a pack of coyotes.
Yes, you told the story on Tommy's
Yep.
show.
Yep.
Okay, I listened to the whole episode. Okay, yes,
Okay.
yes, I remember this. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's
And,
why I have a similar story about a wolf slash coyote or something too.
oh, do tell. Do tell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So a couple. This is like Thanksgiving. So a different part of the Huckamuck Swamp, a buddy that I used to work with was like, "Hey, I live near this area. This area is a place you can go, and it's a place I'd never been before." So I'm like, "This is great." It's more like woodlands, and so basically it's just like a dirt parking lot, and then there's like one trail that kind of just goes deep into the woods, and then from there it just kind of goes every different direction. So there's a lot of like a lot of land out there. So I just head out there. And what's really weird is I think this has only happened to me this one time where I was like, it's just kind of one of those feelings you get when like you're like, oh man, like I shouldn't be here, or that's exactly what like I don't know. I want to say someone said it to me, but if I was just like I got this feeling like, oh man, like I really shouldn't be here. And so as I'm filming, I get this feeling, and I'm like, I don't see anything. I was like, all right, maybe I've never been here before. I'm uneasy because I've never been here before. And so I keep on going down the trail, and I get this feeling. I get that feeling again. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna at least say it on camera just in case something happens, so that way, you know, I'll have it be mentioned, so that way it doesn't seem like I'm making stuff up after the fact. It'd be like, oh, I felt creeped out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I feel creeped out right now, or I just feel on edge, uneasy, like I shouldn't be there. So I get a little bit down, and so I look into I'm on trail still, literally half a mile from my car. So not even like that far away from the parking lot. And so I look into this like meadow, which is now a meadow, but it used to be a bunch of trees. But it's all like uprooted trees for some reason. Like a tornado came through this area. I don't know what happened, a windstorm, something,
Right.
uprooted as far as the eye could see, uprooted trees, just like a huge section. And it looks kind of odd because it's just so many trees down. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a spirit box session. I'm basically telling this to the camera, like just like I always do. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do a spirit box session. Just give me a second. All right, so I shut off the camera, I get it out. I'm about to turn it on, and then I get the spirit box up. I look up, and then over the top, maybe 40 feet away, 50 feet away, over the top one of these trees that's fallen down. And so you know how trees fall down? Sometimes the roots come up with it. And so it'll be like a circle. So I saw from the backside of one of these circles what looked like a wolf type animal jump over the top of it and then like land back on the like onto the other side, like towards me. And so it was, which is really, I've seen coyotes before, so like
Right.
I know what coyotes look like. I've seen them in the Huckamuck. Coyotes, I know what coyotes look. This was not a coyote. So it jumped down over, and I just, so I got scared, man. I literally just grabbed my stuff and I left. I didn't even film it. I was gone because I was just like, because it was so weird, because when it jumped down, I got a good look at it. I thought it was black,
Mm,
and then I thought it was like really, really fluffy. Like that's how I would describe it, which is like very strange.
yeah.
And so I do the video or whatever, and I release it and stuff. And the guy that told me about that spot was like, he's like, I think I know what that is. He's like, when I, because he lives near there, where he's like, there's like around 11 or 15 of these half wolf, half coyotes out there, and they travel in like packs and stuff, and they're like bigger than an average coyote. Like they're pretty big.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I was like, that makes sense as far as like what it could be. But still, man, that's scary. I just didn't expect it. And like I said, and to have those like weird feelings beforehand,
Yeah.
like that's just like really strange too.
Wow.
Almost like somebody was warning me, like, no, you shouldn't be here. Like
Hmm.
you need to go. You know, it's just a really weird experience. And I
Wow.
didn't get it on camera. It's just like the worst. So from now on, I don't shut the camera off. I keep it on like at all times for that reason.
Yeah, and you got a good
Because
quality camera too.
yeah, yep. And you know what's funny about that? I use my iPhone to film
Really?
everything. Yeah, to film
No
everything,
way.
because it's 4K. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And so then I have, if it's nighttime, I have like different attachments that I use so that way it looks good at night. But
Okay.
yeah, like secret. Like, and I edit on iMovie too.
Okay.
And then if I have like extra stuff, I have other programs I can add in other stuff to make it look better or cooler or whatever.
Do you attach a microphone to it?
Yes. Yep. I
Okay,
do
because
have a little microphone. Yeah.
all right, because
Yep.
I saw in one of your videos I saw like it was like a shadow from the sun and it was on the ground and it looked like this really like good expensive camera because I could see the microphone hanging off of it.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
was like, oh wow,
Yep.
he's got a really nice camera. I wonder how much that was. And then now you're telling me it's your phone. I was like, no shit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's just, and because it's just like number one, like I said, the quality of it's so high.
Mhm.
I can edit on there, and then I could pump the videos out fast.
Yeah,
Rather
that
than
makes sense.
sometimes with the computer, sometimes it's a little bit slower.
Yeah.
So with that, I basically do everything on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then actually, if I actually learned something new, recently with like the spirit box. So remember how I was telling you with like my iPad, I have like the ghost app open at all times.
Yeah.
And so it records the audio. So what I've realized, if I take that audio, because I'll have the spirit box going, and so basically I have, usually whenever you've probably seen it, I'll have the spirit box right in front of my phone like this.
Hmm.
And so I'm recording it like while looking at it. And so I'll have the audio from my phone, and I'll take the audio from the iPad and like sync them together, and it like amplifies the sounds and the voices of the spirit box, and they come out clearer.
Mm,
And you can hear them louder. And even in some cases, you can hear things that you didn't hear originally.
right.
As far as like, just because it's like a double, it's weird. I don't know how to explain that, but I don't know. It's like it's almost as if it's in stereo or something, because with the one recording, it's like just one, and when you put the two together, because it's the same recording, you put them together if you match them up right.
Right.
So like that's what I literally just realized that with the witching tree video, because I had so many issues with the wind. So
Yes.
I had to like switch back and forth between like this audio and then the iPad audio, and then at one point I think I had them linked together at the same time during a spirit box, and then that's when I was like, oh my god, this is like, it sounds so much better. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of like a happy accident. Like if it wasn't so windy, I wouldn't even have figured that out. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, even though like that video was a pain in my ass, but you know what I mean? It's like one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things, like it's just like, okay, now cool. Now every single time I'll do that with the spirit box, and
Hmm.
it should, lead to a better video as far as like clarity as far as the spirit box goes, which I think is interesting. So
Yeah. I like that whenever you throughout your video when you catch the EVP, like right there in the video, you backtrack and go through it a couple times. That's
yeah,
fun. I like that. That's really
absolutely.
cool
And
because then you get a chance to really hear it.
yeah, exactly. And not only that, another thing I've been doing recently is not putting what I think it says until the last one. And so it gives you an opportunity to like hear it for yourself and be like, "Oh, I hear this." And then I'll write down what I think it says or whatever.
Hmm.
So that way you can be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I can hear that." So just to kind of like, instead of like putting exactly what I think it says, because I think most of the sometimes
Then
it's
you
clear. Right. Then I'm like
then
manipulating,
yeah.
could be manipulating people to like find an answer that I want them to find.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which I'm not trying to do, but you can be accused of doing something like that. So that
Exactly.
I've been doing that lately to try to like help with that stuff. But in some cases, if you get a really good EVP, you don't even need to mark it. People can hear it,
Yep. Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
So would you say the spirit box is your favorite? Because you do use it a lot. So
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? When I first got it, I was really bad at hearing the responses in the moment. And I
yeah.
still am not the best at in the moment hearing it. Like I can hear the really clear ones, but some of the other ones I don't pick up on until after. After I'm like listening to it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can hear that. So like at first, when I first started using it, I was like very discouraged because I was just like, I can't hear anything in this, But I think I'm trying to think what the moment was where it really like switched for me. I think it was probably I want to say Anawan Rock, which is probably 2 months ago or something like that. That was wild. That was absolutely wild. So if you want, I can give a quick synopsis about Anawan Rock.
Yeah.
Anawan Rock is a Massachusetts lore history area. So Anawan was a name of a Native American Wampanoag who was in this area. He was kind of like during the time of the Pilgrims era. So during King Philip's War, which a lot of people call the Forgotten War, so basically Pilgrims versus Wampanoag.
Mhm.
This is after like the first 75 years or something. They got along up to that point, and then they started to not get along. So anyway, long story short, the war is ending. Anawan's like this 80-year-old guy who's kind of like more of a figurehead in the Wampanoag tribe. So they want to capture him, and so the Pilgrims, and so they lead a party and they capture him, and they're like, hey, we're not going to kill you. We promise we won't kill you, and we'll just bring you back to Plymouth. And so they bring him back to Plymouth, and they eventually do kill him and put his head on a pike, which is kind of sad because
Yeah.
like he was promised that they wouldn't kill him, and the guy that promised him that he wouldn't kill him didn't make the decision to kill him. So like it wasn't his fault necessarily, but it's just like the way things went
Right.
after war. That's the way things go sometimes. So Anawan's Rock is where they captured Anawan, and so it's one of the places in the Bridgewater Triangle. A lot of people have say they can see fires at night. They hear drums, stuff like that. It was an area where the Wampanoag people like would spend a lot of time and like hunt and stuff like that. I guess, or just hang out. So it's basically this huge rock. And so we were on top of the rock, and it got to the point we got a EVP up there of a man going shh, like telling us to be quiet, like really clear, like super clear. Not only that, we got there's another EVP. I can't quite remember what it was off the top of my head, but on the spirit box, I've never had so many spirits say leave, go away, go home, leave. I would say at least 35 to 40 times. Like, because I literally got to the point where I was like, if you want us to stay, please say stay. This is one of the things I say now. I was like, if you want us to leave, please say leave. And it's from that video because I asked that, and immediately they're like, leave, leave, please go home, leave, go home, leave. And it's just like repeatedly, like just boom, boom, boom. Like I was just like, oh my God. I was like, what's wrong? What have I done? But I think I don't like who knows, you know what I mean? But it's just funny. And that was like the first time I was like, oh man, the spirit, like, because that was just like so clear. There was no mistaking what they was trying to say. It was like over and over, and it was just like same thing. But yeah, so I think since that moment I've been using it a lot more, and I've been getting a lot of great interesting responses lately.
Nice.
Very interesting. Yeah.
That's good. Is that place like considered like cursed or anything like that?
The Bridgewater Triangle or Anawan Rock?
Well, both.
Both.
Yeah.
There's parts that there are people that claim. I mean, there's no concrete evidence to be like, oh, this Native American on this date said that I cursed this land because of whatever, blah blah blah. There's nothing like that as far as I know.
Mhm.
That's what people have said about like the Huckamuck Swamp, and stuff like that. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't think so. I think the Huckamuck Swamp's always been the way that it's always been. The word Huckamuck in Wampanoag means place where spirits dwell.
Yep.
So I think it's always been a place where spirits are. I think it's always been a place where Pukwudgies and all these different, folklore or whatever that the Native Americans talked about, that's where like they're from and stuff. So I don't think that's cursed. Now, what I will say is about like if any land's cursed, it would probably be the Freetown State Forest area. but I don't think that it's cursed because even the Native Americans, like the Wampanoags, about that land, they said that land was evil, and
Oh,
so like
really?
or evil dwelt there. So I don't think they did that. I think evil's always been there, whether that's like some sort of demonic entity, whether that's whatever it is. I don't. Obviously, evil lives there from what the Native Americans said. And I mean, it kind of plays out, like I said, that was the place with the satanic murders and all that kind of stuff, the ritualistic stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
not only that, but just people doing really disgusting and evil acts there as well. And people just trying to harm people for no reason. Like they have a lot of dirt bike trails in there. And I think it was 2011 or 12, somebody put barbed wire across the dirt bike trail. So that way, if somebody was riding down there and wasn't paying
What?
attention, they could like seriously, if not get killed or hurt themselves. I
Right.
mean, it's like so stuff like
Oh
that.
my
There's like
God.
obviously like gang activity a little bit too down there. It's
Yeah.
weird because it's a state forest, so you wouldn't expect this kind of. Put it this way, out of the people that I know that know of the place, 50% of the people won't even go there.
Wow. That
They won't
says a
even
lot.
go there. I know. A good friend of mine. She's like a very spiritual person and is into like Reiki and stuff like that. She's like she will never go there. Never ever 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 go. She tells me not to go there.
Wow.
And I've only been there 3 times, just to give you an idea. And I've been to the Huckamuck, I don't know, 15
A
times,
lot.
a lot. Because there's less. Like put it this way: the 2 times I've been, 3 times I've been to Freetown. The one time I did the only time I've used Spirit Box there was at the ledge. I got called a bitch. When I asked what their name was, they said, "Why do you care?"
Yeah.
There was a couple other things like, yeah, there was a couple other things that were just this responses that like normal people usually don't say when you. I've never gotten stuff like that before. Only there.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, only as far as negative stuff like that, never
Okay.
ever. Only there. I've never had anyone be mean to me except for there.
Kind of makes me
So
want to go there.
yeah, that place is weird, man. It's no joke for
I
sure.
bet.
As far as the Freetown legend and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, with that said, I am gonna go back. I'm gonna do like a night investigation there. So
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
oh, for sure, for sure. Like I said, with the history there, it's just such a dark place. So I mean,
Do
oh,
you
we'll go with protection and all that stuff like we always do. But like,
yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, hopefully, we'll see what happens. I'd expect we'll catch at least a couple EVPs and spirit box stuff.
Cool.
Hopefully, no people. I don't want to run into like some Satanist group or that is like sacrificing
No.
something in there. You know what I mean?
You don't
I mean,
want
it'd be
that
great
shit.
for. Don't get me wrong. It'd be great for the video, but
Mm.
I'm not really up for that. So,
Right. No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit.
but
So,
yeah.
I am part native, and
Oh, interesting.
I've been trying to I've asked my cousin because he's like he lives on the or was living on the reservation, and he knows a lot of like the tribal history and the lore with our own tribe, which is Penobscot. It's
Oh, okay.
within the Wabanaki Federation.
Gotcha.
So like Passamaquoddy, Penobscot,
Yeah.
Abenaki. I think Micmac is in there.
Oh, Micmac. Yeah. Okay. I've heard of that one before. Yeah.
Yeah, they've never really had like a land. They're more like like a nomad tribe,
Gotcha.
kind of.
Okay.
So they're
Interesting.
basically they're referred to as a band rather than a tribe.
Gotcha.
So,
Interesting.
but Saco River
Yeah.
is has an actual Native American curse on it. And I talked about this in one of my episodes, but so basically back in the early days of America being settled, between so it's a river that runs between it comes in from the Atlantic and it goes through Biddeford and Saco. And the tribe there lived very peacefully amongst the settlers, and there was actually they were friendly. They They did stuff together. They helped each other with
Mhm.
building and crops and all this stuff. And then this ship came in, and there was 3 sailors coming off, and they were drunk, and they came across a woman and a baby, and they asked her if um, that they heard that Native American babies come out of the womb knowing how to swim like animals. And then they took the baby from her and threw him into the river. So naturally, she went and got him. But eventually, so I think he survived for a few days, and then he ended up succumbing to
Mhm.
the
The hypothermia, whatever, right?
yeah. It's not documented
Mhm.
exactly, but it was like a day or two. He died
Gotcha.
after. The baby died after, and so obviously the mother was distraught, and the father just happens to be the tribe's chief and medicine man. His name was Squandro.
Hmm.
So he put a curse on the river that 3 white men or white people would die every year, and so far it's held up.
Wow, that's wild.
So that river comes from New Hampshire, from the White Mountains, and comes through Maine and out into the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I am very familiar with the Saco. I floated the Saco in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
Yeah, with like the tubes, because it's a very like shallow. Well, at least in New Hampshire, I don't know how it is the whole stretch, but at least in the New Hampshire section, it's like very shallow and like lazy river kind of a deal. But yeah, that's wild.
yeah.
That's an interesting story.
The mouth of it is pretty deep.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably gets wider as it goes along.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, I remember the first time I ever heard this story. I was really young, and it had claimed the life of a little boy. So that was the first time I ever heard of it.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's the whole river.
Hmm.
So even into New Hampshire. So you probably were like what, in Conway or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yep, North Conway. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
North Conway.
I go to North
Gorgeous.
Conway all the time, dude. It's
Yeah, it's amazing,
amazing.
isn't it? Oh,
Yes.
dude, it's like people have been like, "Oh, what are these guys talking about?" But no, North Conway is an incredible mountain town. As far
It,
as like East Coast mountain towns,
yeah.
it's one of the best, man. I could retire there, I think.
Oh my
If
God.
right?
Me and my ex-girlfriend we used to talk about this all the time. We were talking about our future, and I was like, I just want to get a little cabin on the
Yeah,
river with like a mountain view in North Conway. That's where
yeah,
I want to retire.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's definitely on the short list, like, because it's just a perfect like especially the little town that the little grocery store they have there, Zeb's and stuff, and
Yep.
like everything about it, everything about it, in the White Mountains right there. Oh,
Oh my God,
gorgeous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my son started annually hiking Mount Washington once he turned 12.
Mm-hmm.
So we've done it twice now.
Ooh.
He's 14, so we're gonna do it again this year. So this year will be the 3rd time, and my daughter turns 12
Wow.
this year, so she's gonna start coming with us.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's impressive. Like, people get those bumper stickers. They're like, "Oh, my car climbed, blah blah blah." It's like, no, What do you get if you climbed? You know what I mean? Like,
a
I don't
tattoo,
know. Yeah.
a
All right,
broken
kids.
foot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Shin splints.
Yeah, the last this last fall we took my dog, and we were like a mile, maybe a half a mile from the top, and she was just like, I'm done. And
Oh, poor thing.
she ended up cutting her the pad on her paw at some
Oof.
point, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck. And I noticed it because she stepped on a rock, and I saw blood, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah,
So I ended
right.
up the harness that she had has a handle on it. So I ended up picking her up like that and carrying her like a briefcase for the rest of the way. So, and then there
Well,
was one point.
how big's your dog?
She's 40 pounds. She's
Okay.
a Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
Okay. Okay.
So she's a little stocky thing. She looks like she might be heavy, but she's only 40 pounds.
Gotcha.
I mean,
That's not bad.
obviously, hiking up a mountain, she's really heavy.
Oh yeah, no doubt, especially when that air gets thin.
Yeah. I ended up putting her on my shoulders at one point because I was carrying her like this and I was switching arms, and then I was like, fuck this. And I just put her up here. And she's just like, her legs are straight, all four of her legs are straight out.
Yeah.
And she's just like laying there. My son's like, she looks like she's really comfortable.
You're like,
She's
oh,
like, she's
oh,
gonna fall
very
asleep.
good.
I was like, perfect.
Yeah. I'm doing great.
So, anyways, what is I've heard a lot about the little people, the lore of that down there.
Yeah, the
What?
Puckwudgies.
Yeah, okay. I can never say that
Remembered.
word for
Yeah,
or
yeah. I don't blame you. It's a weird one. Yeah, Puckwudgies. That's what at least the Wampanoag call them.
okay.
There was. It depends on like what tribe, because like the Wampanoags, I guess. I mean, I hope I'm not misspeaking, but I'm pretty sure they're somewhat related to the Algonquins, the Algonquin tribe or whatever. They're like
Yep.
their religions and some of their things are very similar but different. It's very strange. So like the Puckwudgies is one of those things that's in both of their folklores. And so I'm trying to remember. I think in the Algonquin folklore there's Puckwudgies and then there's another one and there's like two different kinds of them.
Mhm.
And one's good, one's bad, but as far as the Wampanoags go, I think they can either be good or bad. It's the same creature. So however you want to look at it, it's whatever it is. It's basically a troll-like creature, very short, fully covered in hair, can disappear, can either lead you to doom or save you. It's more like one or the other. So like they're either like tricksters, try to play tricks on you, stuff like that, or they'll help you out. So there seem to be very like it's a mixed bag. So I don't personally, I do not know if they are good or bad
Yeah.
necessarily. I think they do exist. My uncle has like seen one before, which is interesting.
Oh,
And
this is where I stop listening to
stop.
the podcast.
Yeah,
Okay. I
Yep.
remember. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
'Cause,
Yep.
you started talking about your uncle having an experience. So if you don't mind, I would love to
No,
hear it.
absolutely not. So, they lived in this haunted house in a town called Onset, Massachusetts. And so it was one of those type of houses that like night one they had activity and they had like a very crazy experience night one. If you want, I'll just quickly tell that real quick, just to kind of set the stage of like what kind of crazy this house was.
Yeah, perfect.
So night one, they get a really good deal on this place. This is 1980. This is a very long time ago. And so it was one of those places where it was a summer rental. So there was two houses. There was a big house that was a regular size house, and then there was a cottage that was next to it. And in the summer, they lived in the cottage. In the winter, they lived in the big house. So it's the summertime, they're in the little cottage. Everyone moves in, but the problem is everyone worked all day long. So they get there, they move in, and it's like after work. So they don't really do much. They basically just set the beds up, maybe set a couple things up, and then they're like, all right, we're going to bed. We'll finish the rest tomorrow, whatever. So they all go to bed. It's my mom, who hasn't met my dad yet. So it's just my mom, my uncle Michael and his wife in another bedroom with my cousin, who is just a little baby. And they, like I said, they didn't even have a lot of time. So they didn't even have time to like set the crib up. So they just pulled out like a drawer out of a bureau, laid some sheets down in there and bedding and stuff to make it nice and soft, put her inside of it next to the bed. And so they go to bed. Everything's great. My uncle Michael is about to fall asleep. And then he hears footsteps. They're on the second floor. He hears footsteps coming up the steps. And so where his bedroom door is, it's basically right in front of the steps. So he could see if someone's walking up. And so he's expecting to see my mom coming to walk up. He's like, oh, maybe she went to the bathroom, whatever. I didn't hear her go down there, but maybe she's, maybe I just didn't hear her. She's coming back up. And so the footsteps get all the way to the top of the stairs. There's no one there. And so he's like, that's kind of weird. And so next to his bed is this big, huge, empty, thank God, empty bookcase, like oak bookcase, very, very heavy. And it's right next to like where my cousin's like laying. And so all of a sudden, like I said, he hears the footsteps. There's no one there. All of a sudden, that bookcase all of a sudden just inexplicably falls or starts to fall. And if it falls, it's going to fall right on top of this drawer where my cousin, if she's a baby, is like laying. So my uncle Michael jumps out of bed, catches this bookcase. It's so heavy he can't even put it back himself. While he catches it, he hears those footsteps run back down the stairs that he heard come up the stairs, walk up the stairs. This time they ran back down. And so obviously some unseen force came up the stairs, knocked over that bookcase, and ran back down the stairs.
Wow.
Which is interesting. Now, I tell that story, and I'm just making a connection here that I've never made in my entire life. And I'm not saying this is 100% true, but that could have been a Pukwudgie. Because another thing about Pukwudgies is they also are like, they want children or something, or they try to attack children, or they're very focused on children, or like children, or try to steal children and stuff like that.
Kind of like the fairy stuff.
Yeah, very, very, very similar. And not to say that that was what that attack was or whatever, but obviously it was some sort of unseen force. And I only say that now because I'm like, well, Pukwudgies are known to be invisible. So anyway, fast forward. That's night one. Fast forward. It's like maybe a few months in. My uncle is getting home. It's late. It's dark. He's right down the street from the house. It's a very, where this is, it's a beach community. So it's very narrow streets. The houses are very close together. So you can only go about 20 miles an hour at the most on these roads. And so he's going down the road. All of a sudden, this hairy 2 foot tall creature just like appears in the road in front of him. And he's like, oh my God, I'm gonna hit this thing. And so he's like, I thought I drove through, I thought I was gonna hit it. And so he drives through it. It disappears. He drives through it. He like turns around, looks around. There's nothing there. He's like, that's really weird. So fast forward to the last night that they're there. They're about to move out. They've had a whole bunch of activity, too many to name, like a lot of weird stuff, furniture moving in the middle of the night, all kinds of like, voices, weird stuff, like not only just a bunch of like crazy, crazy things happening. So they're about to move out of the attic, jumps down this 2 foot tall creature, Pukwudgie, covered in hair. It's not facing him. It's like it has his back turned towards my uncle. It turns around, looks at my uncle, looks shocked and like surprised, and just disappears in front of him. Like almost expecting like he wasn't gonna see him. Do you know what I mean?
Right, because they were moving out.
Yeah, yep. And so yeah, very creepy, very creepy.
Wow, dude, that's a crazy story.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's weird about that, at the time he didn't know what that creature was, but then as time went on, we heard about Pukwudgies and what they look like, what they do, and they disappear. They do all, and it like fits exactly what a Pukwudgie would do and is. And so yeah, it's a wild story. Wild story.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think the minute I saw that, I'm fucking glad I'm out of here, man.
Yeah, you're like, all right.
I knew something was in here.
Yeah, right. Yep. So it begs the question. Now that I'm like thinking about it, I was like, it could have been that creature that first night, trying to either scare them or whatever, or trying to hurt the kid or whatever.
It was probably that creature like the entire time, like the moving furniture and stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
for whatever reason.
Do they like travel in packs, or are they always like one?
I don't know. Good question. As far as his encounters, he's only seen them one at a time.
Okay.
And in Native American culture, there is this one story that I did look up, the Wampanoag story, and it was about a Pukwudgie whose wife was injured or something like that, and they got the help of a Native American, and then it was something like that. They got the help of a Native American, and they ended up helping them because of it or something like that. It was just like a one-off story that I had seen about specifically Pukwudgie and a Native American like interacting, and as far as them helping each other. But that was the only like positive story I could find. A lot of the other ones are mostly negative. Yeah.
Do you is there like Native American like artwork on these creatures? Like
yes. So if you do a little quick Google search of Pukwudgie, there's a couple different like renditions of what Native Americans like describe them looking like.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a few different ones online. There's a couple of good ones. Yeah, basically like 2 foot tall, covered in hair. Some people say they have pot bellies. Kind of look like there's a guy that there's a great documentary on the Bridgewater Triangle on Amazon. I think it's just called Bridgewater Triangle.
Okay.
In that documentary, there's a story about a guy that had an encounter with one near, where I live or whatever, in the Bridgewater Triangle area. and he described it very similarly, and then he said it had a pot belly as well, 2 foot tall, and it was like beckoning to him to like come to him, kind of thing. Like saying here, come here, come here. And he said it was a very strange experience. And his dog was like free. He was walking his dog late at night or whatever near power lines, basically right where you see me in the Huckamuck Swamp and stuff, like that area. So which is super, super interesting.
Wow.
Nicole, my fiance, would never let me go at night by myself, but like part of me wants to, because I get so much evidence when I'm I feel like I get more evidence when I'm by myself rather than in bigger groups generally. Not always the case, but I feel like, I don't know, you're just more, I don't know, you're by yourself. Maybe they're more, comfortable with just one person being there. I don't know. Who knows?
Do you ever get people to tag along with you? I don't think I've seen a video with you with someone yet.
Not that often. Not that often. Most of my videos are by myself. Yeah.
Okay.
When I do like night investigations and stuff like that, I'll have like my sister with me, her husband Eric. Nicole will sometimes come out, my fiance. Yeah, so but primarily by myself. Yeah, unless it's a special investigation or something like I said, a night investigation, but that's kind of rare. That's probably like I do like 4 of those a year maybe. So like primarily I am by myself for sure. And I think that does help me get more paranormal evidence. I don't know. I don't know if it does or not, but I feel like it does. But
yeah. Well, I mean, if it's working, I might as well not. Don't you can't fix what's not broken. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that's true.
So,
that's true.
And I had formed a question while you were talking.
That's how it always goes.
I forgot it. Shit. Well, with that, I will say, are you finding some fulfillment in this path that you're going down with investigating? And
oh, for sure. Like I do. I love it. I
Yeah.
really do. I like it a lot. I think what I love most, I mean, I love doing paranormal investigations and stuff, but I think my number one love is probably, honestly, and I don't do it enough, like abandoned buildings.
Yeah, that's how you started, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially like Penhurst or something. So like Penhurst is like one of those places where it's like a double axe, because it's like not only it's exploring and it's like paranormal, so it's like both. It's like the top 2 things I love the most in like one video, which is great. But I mean, I love abandoned buildings, man. I just don't do them enough. And when I do them, it seems that I get paranormal activity anyway. So it's just I can't even like escape and do like a regular exploring video without having to get like, oh, like did you see that video that I had where that happened to me, or no?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so that literally happened to me. So like right before Christmas, I'm like, all right, I need to take a break from paranormal videos. I want to go out and just do an exploring video, just like not paranormal. So a viewer is like, hey, I know this place that's like somewhat near where you live or possibly near your area, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, great, this is awesome. It's just an abandoned house. There's no reason why this place is gonna be haunted or whatever. So I do the whole video. I don't really get any creepy vibes in there, really. No, nothing really crazy. I hear one creak. That just could be the house settling, not a big deal, whatever. So I'm like, this is awesome. I'm going through the footage, editing it. And so I get almost towards the end of it, and then I hear so at the end of the video, I do these static shocks, basically just like a couple artistic shots to put like music to. And so I'm going through those things, and I'm like listening to them or like editing them, and so basically I turn the camera off. I walk 3 feet over. I kneel down. I turn it back on, and then as soon as I turn it back on, I get a man's voice, and it sounds like the back half of something he's saying. So I don't know what he said before this, but he says something good. That's it, just something good. And so I was like, and I hear that, and I'm like, no way. I was like, get out of here. Get out of here. And so then I was like, I didn't even mark it at first, because I'm like, I don't even want to mark it. And so then I'm editing it more, and then I go into the basement. I get it to the portion of where I edit the basement, and I get another EVP of this like raspy voice saying, I can see you. I'm like, oh, cool.
You're watching me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, how weird. And so I'm like, okay, well, how can I not go back now? And so then I went back, of course, We did an actual investigation, and we caught like a couple other EVPs. The one boat that's probably the most impressive is this like little kid. And so we're in the basement again, and we're like looking at like it looks like just like a pile of like little scraps of metal, but we can't really make out what it is. And we're like, what is that? And that's like literally what we say. We're like, what is that? And we get a little kid's voice that says it's lead, like in a little kid voice, like it's lead, like it's lead, like lead meaning like metal lead or
Right.
whatever. Which blew me away because I'm like, oh, he's literally just like standing right next to us, like, hanging out with us or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So weird. Yeah. And that same house, we got another EVP of that creepy voice in the basement too, like a deep exhale. So I don't think it was anything like demonic or anything. If anything, I think it was like a guy,
Yeah.
either like just trying to come off tough, or just maybe was like a smoker in real life and had a really raspy voice or something. You know what I mean?
Probably. I feel like
Um,
that transfers a lot. Like I feel like there's always I hear a lot of stories of like raspy voices and then like
mhm.
the smell of cigarettes with it too, or like
Sure.
cigars or something, or at
Yeah.
least
Yep.
smoke.
Dude, phantom smells is like a real thing. And Penhurst, this only happened to me maybe one time where if I had like a phantom smell. No, well, it's kind of hard to tell. Twice. I'm gonna say
Uh,
twice. So the first time, Penhurst, we're in a basement and it's the middle of a tunnel. There's no ventilation down there. There's no reason for this. We get to this one area and this girl's like, "Oh my God, I can smell like flowers." And literally it smells like a bouquet of roses are like right in front of your face. Like that's what it smells like. And
wow.
fucking like in the middle of a tunnel, there's no way that smell. Like first of all, it doesn't smell like a perfume. It's not like someone just like sprayed a
Sprayed.
perfume. Like you know what a perfume smells like, or
Right.
when something smells like that. It wasn't that. It was flowers. Which is really weird. It's like what is that? What is that about? Is that like I don't know how to explain that. It's very strange.
Right. That is
So
strange.
very weird. And so the only other time that happened, and this could just be a regular old, just random smell of like the old. So we were doing this hospital, abandoned hospital in really bad condition, like a lot of water damage. And it basically smells like mold everywhere. And we got to this one spot in the hospital and it still smelled like a hospital, or like how a normal, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
No,
Like,
I think I know that the smell you're talking about.
yeah, like, and I like could smell that smell, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's really weird because it was just in this one spot. It was just
Right.
really weird. Like I said, that could be normal, like just like a part of the building that still somehow is not like damaged and still smells like somewhat normal, but
Yeah.
it was weird.
That
Just
is
a weird
weird.
experience.
I
Yeah.
hate the smell of mold. Like
Mm-hmm.
the wet dampness of
Oh
mold.
yeah. And
So
unfortunately, if you're doing abandoned buildings, there's a lot of that.
right, right.
Unfortunately.
Right. So to come across what would smell like a normal hospital, which is like a clean smell.
Yes. Very weird. It was definitely
Yeah,
weird. And we
that
got
is
some
weird.
weird activity in that place.
Did you?
Very strange. Yeah. I talking about the word bank since you like it so much.
Yeah.
Let's
I don't
check out
think I've
this.
seen this video.
No, I'll have to share the link with you. Show you which one it is. But it's so weird. So you probably watched enough of my videos. How many times have you seen the word bank say like right or left or anything like that? Probably never, right?
Yeah.
In this hospital, we got like left and right. When we're walking down hallways and going by rooms, we would get like left.
Wow.
And so, it'd be
Like
it'd be like,
basically directing you?
yeah,
Oh,
yep,
wow.
yep.
Wow, I
Super
gotta watch
interesting.
that video.
Super
What'd
interesting. And
you
we
name
got
that one?
I think it's like two different names. It's like a part one and part two. It's like a
Okay.
two-part. So we got like real EVPs there. Um, and we got, yeah, like a couple of like maybe two or three. No, man, actually more than that. Probably like 4 or 5 EVPs. We got an EVP. It could be residual of a man saying dad, which I thought was super sad.
Hmm.
So it was an adult male, which sounded like an adult male. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's like a residual thing, like it's a hospital. Who knows? Maybe
Like
it's like,
maybe they were when they were alive, they were talking and they
yes.
said dad and then
Yeah.
they had passed and it's just
Right. But
captured that
we
energy.
right. That could be a possibility, but there was like some intelligent responses too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
when Eric was taking pictures, in because Eric went with me in
Uh-huh.
like the operating rooms with the big lights and stuff. He
Yeah.
took a picture with the flash on, and it says after he takes the picture with the flash, it's like flashes. And it's like they know they could see that like the light is flashing.
Wow,
You know
that's
what I
so
mean?
cool.
Yeah. Which I thought that was interesting. And there was another part where they have like these, it was the office section, and we're like looking through papers because this is a hospital where they continually had problems and were always like on the brink of shutting down, or it got closed and opened up as another hospital. Like there was
Yeah.
always issues. And
Yeah.
so we're like looking over like paperwork and stuff. And I'm like literally kneeling down. And oh man, now I can't remember what it says, but I think it says no or something. I'm talking about something. And it says, you hear like a whisper of a woman saying no. We had a lot of like other noises in there that were caught after the fact. Could be residual stuff, like a metal bang and
Yeah.
like a woman's voice in the background kind of thing.
Wow.
Um, yeah, very interesting. I mean, the first and only hospital I've ever done. So it's definitely interesting just to do it.
Right.
But yeah, definitely, like I said, the rights and the lefts. I've never had so many in that video. It's so weird. It's so, and never since. It's not like that's happened ever since, really. So I think
Uh-huh.
that's interesting too. So it's like
Hmm.
things that make you go.
Yeah. So have you listened to any of my episodes
Yeah, I just listened to. Well, I just started the last one actually. I saw the
with Jess?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. I just started
Um
that one.
so I don't episode 11. Have you listened to that one at all?
No, is that the one? Is I know you were talking to one about with Tom, about the guy that you guys both had on.
Yep.
Was this what you're going to
Yeah.
mention
Yeah.
with the voices and stuff?
Yes.
So yes, I did hear like a couple clips of that. So that's just a weird story. So
Yeah.
do you think he's like somehow things are like attaching themselves to him or like manipulating his audio and stuff like that? What's going on there, you think?
I think that he has. So what I when he investigated the Indiana State Sanatorium, I think that he was looked at as just this like wicked, trusting and caring kind of a person. Because that, I mean, that's the vibe that I get from him. Very nice
Mm-hmm.
and warm.
Gotcha.
And I had a clairvoyant, so we had him on a second time in episode 14, and we had a clairvoyant with us, and she basically said, she's like, I can see your aura, it's very blue and purple, and that tells me that you're a very trusted, you're very calm and just warm and like an empathetic kind of person,
Mm-hmm.
and very kind. You have a kind energy about you, and that. So basically, what I think is that they found him. Um, they felt comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's an attachment, but not like super attachment.
Gotcha.
I don't know how to like just basically like it's not a haunting
Yeah.
kind of thing, an attachment, and it's not negative, but it's showing him things, and I think that they want to him to come back
Hmm.
is essentially what I think. And well, yeah, I mean, you got these internet waves. So he's in Indiana and he's talking to me. So either they're with him and they're just manipulating, or they're connecting through the ether,
Right.
through the
Right.
space. Because I mean, we all know spirits are, it's energy.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Exactly.
and just with the way it happened, and man, I was in my car and I'm driving, and I get a message, and I can see it because it's in the holder on my car, and it's like, and it's a voice message, so I just hit play, and he's like, hey man, I don't know if you had a chance to listen, but I'm getting a lot of people telling me there's voices and that it's not you or I. And I was like, don't sensationalize this, Ron. This is just my voice coming back through your microphone. It's
Yeah.
not a
Like
big deal.
reverb or something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's like, no, he's like, it's not saying what you're saying. So I was like, all right, I have to listen to it. So I listened to it, and I go, I was like, yeah, there's a whole lot of um unexplainable deaths and murders in that place. And then right after I said that, a voice goes, "You should run." And I was like, and I was coming through my speakers of my car, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" I was like,
That's
"No shit."
crazy.
So yeah,
Wild. Yeah,
then
that's
my sister
weird.
caught a bunch of. She listened back to it, and because she wasn't involved with the episode, and she ended up listening to it, and she found a couple different things, like there was children, voices of children, and laughing, and then a voice. Well, I guess I said, I called it an insane asylum, and a voice went like, "Dude, really?"
Yeah, yeah. Yikes.
So
No, that's super interesting. No, that's wild. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that definitely doesn't happen normally. You know what I mean? So that's really wild. Yeah, because I listened to the full episode with you and Tommy, and you guys talked about that. So yes,
yeah,
yeah, that's I don't know what to make of that. That's crazy. I'd be interested to see if he goes back, what happens, and not
yeah.
only what happens when he's there, but what happens afterwards.
Mm,
I'd be interested to see, like, if you had him on again after the fact,
yep.
see what happened after. Especially, I don't know what his intentions are. I don't know if he wants to go there to, like, you know break this attachment. I don't know what his thought process is on it, but
Right.
yeah, that's it. It's definitely that's wild.
Yeah. So it's $1,000 for an overnight investigation of this place.
Really.
Yeah, and I've been thinking, kind of been thinking of starting like a GoFundMe,
Hmm.
and possibly like occurring collecting like the money to cover that, and then possibly me going out there and doing it with him.
Yeah, hell
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And then him and I talked about possibly maybe even doing like a documentary of the place. And I kind of want to, I found a documentary of the sanatorium.
Hmm.
I haven't watched it yet, but I was almost kind of considering maybe like doing like a documentary on him. Like it's about the Indiana State Sanatorium, but it's also like about him.
Hmm. I
You
like
know what I
that.
mean?
Yeah, no, I like that.
So I've been considering that, and then so I also need the time to do it, and then
Sure.
I would need to find like a videographer or something like that,
Hmm.
so I'd probably need not just myself, but another person or two to
Yeah,
go out
definitely.
there with us. So
For sure, for sure. I mean, at least one other person to film it.
right, exactly.
For sure. I mean, you could film it yourself. It would just be a little more challenging. You can get around it, and still
Right,
make it
right.
look great. But because if you did like interviews and stuff, you could just set the camera up, in one spot, and then so that way you can be on camera and him
Exactly.
at the same time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's ways to do it for sure. But no, that sounds sick, man.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. It reminds me of this. I just saw this other place. It's in Pennsylvania. I don't know what town it is or whatever, but it's this prison. Have you seen this place? I don't
I
know
don't
what the
think so.
name of it is. I'll have to send you the link.
Okay.
But it's they do like investigations there too. You can go there and like rent out the whole, or like you investigate the whole prison, because I guess it's a former prison. It's not like an active prison anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like all abandoned, but it's like recently abandoned within the last 5 years or something, maybe
Oh wow.
something like that. And I've seen other people go there on YouTube and stuff like that before, and I
Yeah.
just didn't know where it was. And so I saw it pop up on maybe Twitter or something. I saw it wherever it was. I think it was when I was looking at Norwich State Hospital, which is like in Connecticut or whatever. They have a Twitter account
Yeah.
because they were trying to open stuff up there for paranormal investigations, but I guess the town of Norwich won't let them. They
Really?
won't
That's
give.
weird.
Yeah, isn't that weird? They won't give
Yeah.
them like the classification, whatever, the permits or whatever's holding them up. They won't do it, and
Oh.
so they're kind of like in limbo because they want to do the ghost hunting and they want to preserve the history and the buildings and stuff. But it's like, how do they do that? So like I've been following. They have a Twitter account. If you, I'll have to send it to you. But it's just kind of interesting because like that's like one of those places. I would love to go there. Indiana State, like what you're talking about. I'd love to go
Yeah.
there. This prison. There's so many places that like I just want to check out, or like Waverly Hills.
Oh
Like
man,
I'd
that's
love to get there, man.
Pennsylvania, isn't it? Or is
West
it?
Virginia or somewhere. I don't
Oh,
even
is
know.
it?
Hold on,
Thought
let me
maybe
look
it
it
was
up.
Tennessee.
Maybe it
Tennessee,
is Tennessee.
Pennsylvania.
Is it? Let me look up. Where's Waverly Hills? I know it's down south. I know that for
Yeah,
sure.
right. I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, they did. Almost everybody's been there, I think. Kentucky,
Kentucky. Okay.
Kentucky.
All right.
Yeah,
So I was way
like
off. I heard the first time I ever heard of it was on another podcast. And they were talking to a guy that was like a skeptic and joined this paranormal group, and now he went to Waverly Hills, and now he's like a 100% believer.
oh yeah, well they have like the reports of like the shadow people there. Like that's their big thing as far as I remember.
Yeah.
Because ghost hunters went there a long time ago. That's how that's how I first found out about it a long time ago. And then of course like all the other, anybody that does like paranormal stuff, I think they've probably been there. Or like
Yeah.
that's on like the top 10 list of places to go. So yeah, it's on my top 10 places to go for sure. Definitely.
Nice. Nice. That's cool. Have you ever thought about doing a podcast, like your own podcast? Because you're so like clear with your words, and you don't do a lot of ums. Actually, I don't think you've done any.
Oh, really? I try not to.
Yeah.
I used to have a podcast a long time ago. So I used to try to like get in the habit of not saying that word or like
Yeah.
any sort of connecting words and stuff like that. I find that it's easier if you just like take a pause for a second and then instead of doing the because it basically it's just like a bridge word for you
Pretty.
to get
Yeah.
to your next sentence or whatever. So it just takes a little bit of practice, honestly. And like you have to be like consciously not thinking about it. And like the more you do it, like you're very early on in your podcasting, so like once you get like a year in, do you forget about it? You're not even gonna know what the word is. You're gonna be like, oh, you know what I mean? You're gonna be like,
Uh,
oh, I never even use it anymore. You know what I mean? So
yeah. There was
it's just
one of
it's just
my
practice. That's all.
right. There was one of my intros where I was just like, and like almost after every word, and I was listening back to it, and I was just like, oh my fucking god, really?
You're like,
So
do I edit all these ums out or what do I do?
so I did the intro for Jess, and like I was thinking at the same time as I was trying to talk really fast, so I didn't have that space and time. So I was trying to be like extremely charismatic
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
showy
yeah.
and just talk exactly what I wanted to talk about, so
Mhm.
that I wasn't giving myself the time to be like,
Yeah, yeah. It's
so,
it's it's just one of those things. And hey, at least you're not one of those people that are like one of those Valley girls from like the '80s always use like the word like instead of
yeah,
just constantly. So yeah, it is what it is. Um's not that bad,
no,
So
it's
there
not.
you
It's
could
not
be,
terrible.
yeah. But
So,
you'll get there. You'll get there. It just takes practice and trying to be like mindful of it. That's all.
all right. So what's next for you? What's the very next thing that you're planning on doing?
Let's see. Tonight I have the Royal Wampanoag Cemetery. I go to like the cemetery, very small cemetery, like 20 or so people are there.
Mm-hmm.
Not every single royal member of the Wampanoags are there. It's just like one of many, I think. So I went there, got a couple good EVPs, got some good spirit box stuff. I almost said coming up this weekend, this Saturday, actually, we're gonna be filming out in the Huckamuck doing a night investigation. So it'll be me, it'll be Eric. I think my sister's coming with me as well, and my cousin Patrick will be making his
Ooh,
debut.
nice.
Yeah, so it's his first video he's ever done with me. I think this is his first ever like paranormal anything. He's always been like interested in the paranormal, but I've just never asked him to go. And I was like, hey, you want to like come out on an investigation with us? So he's gonna be coming. So I think the main focus of the video is probably gonna be like the witch stuff. Now, did you watch my recent Huckamuck stuff? Have you seen it? Like,
Yes. Yep.
okay, so I think the witch stuff is very interesting.
Mm.
So for a long time leading up into the Huckamuck stuff, I've gotten the word bank response removal a bunch, a
Mm.
lot. And I never really gave it much thought. I was like, oh, who knows what that, it's just a random word. So I made the connection once and I was like, I wonder. I was like, so I asked the question. I was like, I've gotten the word bank response removal. Has somebody removed bodies from here? And without skipping a beat on the spirit box, boom, witch. And I was like, that's weird. And so the next time I go to the Huckamuck, I'm like, all right, I'm going to ask again.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I asked again. I was like, did a witch remove bodies from here? Could you please say yes or a witch? and without giving a beat, boom, a witch. So does that mean that actually happened? I don't know, but I think it's interesting. So the next time I go out, I'm gonna ask again, and so I'm gonna see what happens. So that's gonna be a kind of like a focus of the time out there. And not only that, one of the other times I was out there in between the witch stuff, I got all these weird noises out there that I just cannot explain. I'm talking about a metal beeping noise in the middle of the swamp, something right after this metal beep hit, like something hitting something very loud, all this sort of like metal cans and glass moving, all this kind of just like weird noises that I can't explain. I mean, I've heard other noises when I've been out there, like metal crinkling, stuff like that. And so it's just weird stuff. So I think that's the two main focuses of my video. So I'm going to hang out in that area where I've heard that stuff before, the noises, and then we're going to ask a lot of witch related questions on the spirit box, see if we can get some more answers or maybe clarification on why somebody would remove bodies from someplace, what purpose would that serve. Not to say that we'll get answers, but you never know. That would be cool. So we'll see.
Right. Massachusetts is known for witches, so
that's true. And it's one of those things that, like, at first I'm sure some of it got overblown as time went on with the whole Salem stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure at some point, somewhere along those lines, one of those girls might have been a witch. That's all I'm saying. One of them was probably, I mean, who knows? I don't know. But witchcraft is, it's a thing.
It's a practice, right? It is.
That is a real thing. So, and who knows what some witch did in the past in the 1700s and what kind of, if it was some sort of Native American witch, maybe, who knows? I don't know, or it could be anybody, I don't know, or it just could be a random ghost just saying the word witch, and there's nothing to it more than that. You know what I mean?
Right. You never know.
So you never know
for sure unless you ask the questions.
That's right. So like I said, I'm excited about that. You can as you could probably tell, I'm excited to get back in there and like ask more questions. Not only that, the last time I was there, I got the first time ever on the spirit box. I don't know if you saw this too. I got the word spirit box response, pray.
Yes. Yep.
Which is really interesting. So I was like, all right, deals like, so I asked, and you want me to pray for you? And they're like, yeah. And they said, and they're like, yeah. And so I don't know if you saw the witching tree yet, but I asked the same because it was on my mind. And I was like, you know what? This is a great question to ask. Because even if even if it's like there's like negative entities there or whatever, it'll get a response out of them too. So I was like, oh, this is great. So like either if it's real people or whatever, it should get a response either way.
Yeah.
And it did get a response at the witching tree. It was really strange. So I asked, I was like, in the Huckamuck Swamp, I asked if someone wanted to pray. They said they wanted me to pray. I was like, if you want me to pray for you, please say pray. And so they didn't say pray, but I was like, did I ask that, or did I just straight up ask if they wanted to pray for you? Whatever it was. They said there was a man that's like, what did he say? He said, yeah, sure. Then there's a woman right after that. Yes, please. And then there's like two other people that come jumping into the conversation. It's like, what are you doing? He's the enemy, basically. That's exactly what the spirit box says.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, so when I'm hearing this and like going through the footage, I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, what do they mean by that? Do they mean like, is this okay? There's only two possibilities that I could think. One, they're like maybe Native American, and so like I'm not a Native American. They think I'm an enemy. Maybe that's why. Okay, that's one possibility. Two, it's like some sort of negative entity that's like, oh no, this is like a good person. You know what I mean? Like this is not people we should be accepting prayers from. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like some sort of evil or negative entity or something that would be my enemy. I don't know what, but weird.
Right. That is interesting.
Definitely. So like I almost hope it's a Native American, but rather than like the alternative of something darker, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like,
we would hope.
Yeah. I think I'm more apt to believe it's probably that.
Okay.
Because right before that, I got a woman's voice, like not singing, but like humming, like literally that. And then she says something to me that I can't quite make out. I don't know if it's even in English or not because I can't make it out.
Right.
It could be Native American. I have no idea, but it's like I've listened to it like 1,000 times. I'm like, I just can't put it together. And you can hear what she's like trying to talk to me, but I'm just like, can't make out what she's saying. So
yeah.
And like I said, it is called the witching tree, so I don't know. Definitely interesting, you know.
That is interesting. Now the metal sounds that you heard out there, I heard on, I don't know if you listened to the confessionals, but he had this guy that wrote a book and he was in the LBL. I can't remember the name of the book.
Yes.
But he's talked about like his encounter with Dogman and the metal sound that he heard out in the woods. I don't know. Do you think possibly that could?
Dude, you know what's so weird that you mentioned that? I listened to that episode. And when he said that, I was
Yeah.
like, I've heard metal things too. Like inexplicable. Like we're talking in the middle of the swamp. There's no reason why like a metal sound should be coming from there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're, you know, it's water. Like there is animals that go through there and stuff like that. But yeah. So I mean, anything's possible. But once he said that, or he said it was like portals or something opening up, or blah blah blah, or like that's what he had thought, like possibly doors opening and stuff like that. And I was like, man, maybe that's what I'm hearing. Like other because if it's not that, I don't know what it would be. You know,
Right.
like these metal, like I'm talking deep, and I mean we're talking 50 feet into the swamp. So, like I said, no human is back there. I know that. I
Mhm.
know that for a fact. If you were to take one step in that swamp, you'd probably go down to like your knee. You
Right.
know how like most swamps are. You can't
Yep.
walk in there. There's no way. And like it's all water. So it's just like I know unless you're some sort of crazy cryptid creature that has like, you know, I don't know. Like I don't know how that's possible. It's just
Yeah.
weird, man. It's just really weird. Like
When you heard it, did it sound close or?
yeah, it sounds like a few of the sounds, like the really the beeping and the loud noise, I would say 50 feet away. The cans moving and the glass moving and that kind of stuff, I would say 30 feet away. You know, so
Wow.
within that 30 to 50, like it's like just far enough away where I can't see. Like it was some of the noises were so close that I was like, how am I not seeing?
Yeah.
Like something, you know what I mean? Because like it's just so inexplicable. And this phenomenon happened for about 20 minutes. And not only that, during that time, like what kicked it off is which it's so weird. I don't know how to explain it. And I'm glad I got it on camera because it's just I don't understand.
Mm.
So what I hear with my own ears is this loud thud, and then a tree falls in the swamp. Really, really loud. You know what I mean? I'm saying like a big tree fell. I couldn't see anything like, you know, but I could hear it though.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I listen back on my phone recording, it's the mic's kind of like pointed towards me, so I didn't get it as loud as I heard it with my own ears. But I catch an EVP with it at the same time of this like tum, like almost as if someone's hitting it with an axe, like boom, boom, like that's what it sounded like somebody like huh, like you know, hitting it was like you know as
Right.
if somebody would that's what it sounded like, and then followed by the falling of like the tree. And I'm like, that's really weird. And so that's
Mm.
what kicked off this whole thing. And so that happened. And so I'm like, that's kind of weird. And so then I go walking over there. I get a tree knock, and then I get the glass, and then like the beep and the knock, all that other stuff. And then I kind of followed it down the pathway. I get an EVP down there of two women, which I think is two Native American women
Okay.
talking back and forth to each other about me. I think they're talking about me. The one woman says, wow, he's cold, or yeah, he's cold, or something like that. And the other one, I can't remember what the other one says. You have to go back. This is why you guys gotta watch the video because I can't remember all the EVPs off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so like I catch that, and then some more noises, and like it kept on happening, and it got to the point where I was like, you know what, I just need to take a break from this area.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I leave that area, and then I go down to the other side, and then that's when I get the first witch response. So just to give you an idea of like time
Right.
wise, when all this stuff happened. And so then I go back to that area, and all those noises are no longer happening or anything like that. And like I said, those are noises I've not heard in that area before. It's just that one time when I was there. Like I said, I've heard metal crinkling, but not that specific area, like further down.
Right.
And that was a weird experience too. But yeah, just I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, but once I heard that guy talking about like the portals opening, blah blah blah, like metal, And I'm like, I wonder, man.
Mm.
I really wonder because people claim, people think there's portals in the Huckamuck Swamp and stuff like that.
Oh, really? They do they?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
That's interesting.
That's what people say. That's why that's. And what's another thing that's interesting about, like, because why are there spirits there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's a swamp. Why would it's so weird? It doesn't make sense. Because I've asked many times, like, did you used to live here? Why? Like, and then I think I've never gotten a yes. So it's like these people didn't live here. So then why are these people here unless they're stuck here or
Mm.
something? Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And so I was like, it's just a very strange, because why, as a ghost, right? If you're a ghost, you can go anywhere. Why would you be in the Huckamuck Swamp of all places? You would
Right.
think you'd be, I don't know, where your family's house used to be, or I don't know. So, I don't know. Just weird. Very peculiar.
That is peculiar.
I don't know what to make of it. And this area is like fueled, I think, by the power lines as well.
Yes. Yeah.
That's like above as well. I think it's all. I
Mhm.
think it's paranormal. There's paranormal stuff there anyway, but I think that's what helps feed some of at least the spirit activity.
Right. It's
That's there
drawing the energy. Yeah. That
from the
makes
power.
sense. That makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. That makes
Mm-hmm.
perfect sense. Um, yeah, so that story with that guy, when he started crying, I was like, he's not lying. Like, you don't just like tell a story like that and start crying in certain
No.
parts of it and be like, this is I'm full of shit,
Yeah.
you
No.
know?
Mm-mm.
So when you said metal, and I just instantly, when you said metal, hearing metal sounds out there, I instantly reverted right
Mm-hmm.
back to that. So
Yeah. Well, but it's so weird because I don't listen to every single episode. I just happen to listen to that one
yeah, I don't
because I
listen to
because I
everyone either, but
because I have so many now. I have so many buddies and friends. So I try to like listen to everyone's stuff, or like
yeah.
as much as I can. So I fall behind a lot, and so yeah. But I did hear that one, and I thought his story was like very compelling, honest,
Hmm.
and just wild,
Yes.
wild, wild.
Yeah.
If like his story was wild, and did you listen to the one about the kid and the Joshua Tree stuff and that story? Oh, you have to go check
I
that
think
out.
so.
Oh man, this
Um,
it was just this wild story about like this crazy like rave out in the desert that ended up
oh
turning out.
yes. Yes, I
eh,
did hear that one.
Oh my
That
god,
was a crazy
dude,
story.
that's the craziest story I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. I
And they
could
were
not
gonna freaking
believe that,
sacrifice him.
dude. Do you doubt it?
I don't. And then he walked he said like 2 days or something.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, dude, how is this poor dude, like not dehydrated and like dead by now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
I
it's
don't
just
think
like,
I would have gone anywhere with somebody that I just met anyway.
no. Dude, it was like the night of this like bad decision after bad decision after bad.
Yes.
And it's just like this is where all these bad decisions will lead you into some sort of crazy blood cult thing that people are flying up into the air and like Lord knows what. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my
damn,
god.
dude. That was wild. I was like, wow. Wow. That
Mm,
was those. I think they were like almost back to back or something, like those two stories. I was just like blown away by those two.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I think I've seen like crazy paranormal things, and I'm like, no, never mind. Forget it. I'm gonna sit down.
So I listen. So I go to work at like 2 o'clock well, I get up at 2 o'clock, but I'm usually at work at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And I listen to his show in the dark. And
Ah,
there's some stories that I get like, because I have to get out of the truck sometimes
sure.
to like get shit and like open corrals and pull shit out and all this stuff. And I'll get out and there'll be woods, or to open up gates so I can get into job sites and stuff. And
Yeah, yeah.
there's this one place that I go to in New Hampshire, and I got to get out to unlock the gate and open it and push it open, and it's a sand and gravel place, and I always feel like something's watching me. And when I'm
Mm-hmm.
listening, I have to shut. When I remember, sometimes, because sometimes I'll forget, but I'll be listening to his show, to the confessionals, and there'll be a certain story about woods, and I'll be out there, and I'll get out to open the gate, and then I'll be like, what's happening?
Dude, you feel like a little kid.
Yeah,
you feel like a little kid again when anytime it's like anytime I just saw this funny like little video where like just how when you look at like you shuffle lights downstairs or whatever, you're like the last one, you feel like someone's gonna chase you, so you like run all the way up to your room and like shut the door behind you real quick, you know what I mean? There's no one there, or
And
like the basement, like that's you like, you know, you're like inexplicably running up the stairs, you're like, what am I doing?
yeah, and you jump from like 5 feet away from your bed just in case something tries to grab your feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I do that too when out there at this specific gravel pit.
Yeah.
I freaking, when I feel like I'm being watched, I'll like start climbing back into my truck, and I'll instantly feel like, well, what if something tries to grab me from behind? So I'll get like really quick and shut the door as fast as I can, and then I'll look.
Yeah. Of course, nothing's there, but oh my god, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We still do it as adults, the things we do as kids, but yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, anyways, man, so that's all the time I got for tonight. I really appreciate you coming on, man. This was a fun conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, man. I had a great time. I thought it was a good time, good conversations, you know, talking about paranormal stuff, and you know, it's always a good time. So I really appreciate having me on, man.
Thank you. And I am going to finish your episode with Tommy, and then I'm going to compare our episodes.
I love it. Yeah.
Hopefully we didn't go over completely everything the same way. So
no, I don't think so. I think for the most part, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot different. I told a lot more like personal stories as far as like when I was growing up and stuff on his podcast. So
okay.
So in here where we was more of a mixture of like some of that and then the YouTube stuff, like, you know, filtered in and stuff, and then organic conversations, you know, which I think is the best kind of podcasting anyway, honestly.
I love where it's not conversations.
Bingo, because that's what people want, because that's what the conversations people have.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's exactly what you want, man. No, it was great. It was awesome. I appreciate it, man.
Cool. And I will so anyways, for everybody watching and listening, Phil and I have talked about possibly getting together for an investigation. So where he's closer to me than Jen and Mondo or Callie, Christina, and all them down in Florida, there's a good chance I'll probably investigate something with him first, because it's going to be October by the time I go down to Florida. So
yeah,
there's a whole lot of time in between that. So
for sure. Yep. And I'm in Massachusetts, you're in Maine. It's like literally you live in southern Maine, so like
2 hours, maybe
2 hours max, and you know, we could even meet somewhere in between or something too.
Yeah, perfect.
Or you come down to Huckamuck. I don't know if you're up for it.
I would do a night one with you.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
I'd probably be scared, but I will fucking do it.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, I can't wait. It'll be fun.
All right, man. So with that, I will say thanks for watching and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky, when the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day. Make a wish.